All right, it is the weather model discussion here for Friday, September the 30th, this finally Friday. How's it going, everyone? Hopefully your Friday is going well. And this is the bonus content that we like to do every day, right? This is not our typical weather segment. This is where we like to go behind the scenes, take a look at the raw weather data that we've been looking at here in the Storm Studio throughout the day. And again, kind of give you the back angle, if you will, to the forecast. This is typically something that we put on our social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, things like that. So if you see it on there, again, be sure to give it a like, and again, also leave a comment if you have a question or a comment on there as well. So where I want to start on this finally Friday, it's just with the surface map. Looking around the country, it's a very quiet weather day. We know it's quiet here in North Texas, sunny, and again, temperature is fairly comfortable out there. But again, just looking around the nation, not a lot going on. Of course, Ian just made his second landfall. Hurricane Ian made a second landfall in South Carolina. I'll show you that coming up. Otherwise, again, things are fairly quiet. Looking at temperatures around the region, this is comfortable, and again, it's just after 3 o'clock, so DFW is still reporting 77 degrees, nice. Look at all the 70s, look at all the 80s. Definitely feels like fall in North Texas right now, I can tell you that. You have to get down towards Corpus, maybe down towards Laredo there in the Rio Grande Valley to find a few 90s, but otherwise, this weather's really looking good. Okay, so let's go and jump over to some of the raw data now. And this is the visible satellite. And so what we're looking at first, this is the Meso analysis page from the Storm Prediction Center, just something I like to use. And what you're seeing around the area is basically blue sky, right? All the areas of dark black showing there's no cloud cover whatsoever. You can see a few bubbling cumulus clouds out in our Texas Panhandle, also up into parts of Oklahoma. Again, outside of that, it's sunny. And again, it is a very quiet early fall afternoon. And by the way, that generally speaking will be the forecast heading into the weekend as well. So looking around the region, just on the radar composite, similar story. It's all quiet out around the El Paso area, maybe in the Front Range there of the Mexico Rockies. A few widely scattered showers. You see a couple green blips showing up. But again, by and large, this is a dry forecast. And like I mentioned, unfortunately, this is the way it's going to remain. I mean, we want the weekend to be dry, I get it, but we do need some rain. And right now, unfortunately, there's just not a lot showing up in sight. I want to look at this too. So this is the convective outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, just showing where there could be active weather over the next several days. So at least today, you can see there's a marginal risk of severe weather out in parts of the Intermountain West. In fact, the Great Basin into parts of the Rockies, Utah into Colorado. And then also you can see on the East Coast there out towards the Atlantic, that is a slight risk of severe weather. Main reason why Ian is making landfall there. And again, anytime you're dealing with a tropical system, these are the tornado probabilities, 5%. Again, tropical systems typically produce weak tornadoes, whether it's a water spout that comes in or again just a weak tornado. It's quite likely, unfortunately, with those systems. Otherwise, out there in the Intermountain West, that would be a wind probability. There could be some gusty winds out there, right? So that's for today. This is the look at tomorrow. No severe weather anywhere in the nation anticipated. And I'm going to show you why the weather's so quiet in the nation. We're in a very unusual pattern. The weather pattern right now is very weird. And I say that loosely, but I'm going to show you why coming up momentarily. And there it is, day 3, similar story, no severe weather anticipated. And keep in mind, we all know about spring severe weather, right? But typically fall severe weather season, not just here in North Texas, but there's a fall severe weather season around the country as well. And typically right now, heading into the first part of October in North Texas, this is typically our fall severe weather season, but there's essentially no rain chances showing up right now. Okay, so from there, let me go and switch over to the overall setup here. And what this is the 500 millibar chart. And again, this is just looking around the country, right? So we know we've got the big trough across the East Coast, right? One of the reasons that it pulled Ian, you can see where I'm circling there, that is Ian. So Ian is now entering into that storm trough. That storm trough basically pulled Ian into him. But here in North Texas, just quickly, it is kind of important for our weather because that counterclockwise area spin that you're seeing there across parts of the southeast, that's bringing in an easterly at the surface, an easterly and a northeasterly wind here into North Texas. And that's why we've dropped the temperatures just some. So the air mass off to the northeast, the air mass off to the east is just slightly less hot. So we're getting that fresh wind in, and that's one of the reasons why as we go through today, again, currently 77 out there, even through the weekend, temperatures will struggle into the mid 80s. So again, that's a pattern, especially when you have that type of air mass off to the east or to the north, cooler, that again can definitely keep your temperatures in check, and we're seeing that. The other thing we're noting here, and I'm circling this other big storm system up across parts of the northern Rockies, right? And that's going to be important for us here in North Texas, not in the near term, but believe it or not, that storm system is going to stall, and is stalled, for the next 5 to 7 days. And in 5 to 7 days, it's going to turn into a longer wave trough. It's going to come down through parts of the plains, and that will actually usher in our next two less hot / cold fronts into the area. And one of them may offer us a limited opportunity of rain. The newest data is not really too promising on the rain chance with that, but I'll show you that coming up. So that's the general setup, right? And so here in North Texas, we're basically kind of in between all of that. You can see we've got a little bit of a ridging pattern. These are areas of equal pressure, so going up like that, we're in a bit of a ridging pattern. So it's just quiet, right? I mean, we're just absolutely quiet. Surface flow coming in from the northeast and the east, cooler air advecting in. Above the surface, we've got an area of high pressure. It's suppressing all the cloud cover. I mean, it can't get any quieter than that in North Texas. I mean, just bone quiet, right? Okay, so we know the general pattern. Let me go and clear that off. And what I'll do, we'll talk about the tropics here just real quick with Ian, and then we'll get back to our forecast and we'll go over the raw data. I'm going to show you something that I think is a little unusual that is happening right now. So there's Ian. He did make landfall. That would be 2 p.m. East Coast time, but he has made a second landfall, obviously the first time in Florida 48 hours ago, and now in South Carolina, very close though to parts of North Carolina, but he did make landfall there in South Carolina, anticipated being a tropical storm and a depression pulling off to the north. Quickly here, I'll switch back to our normal graphics. We'll take a look at them real quick here. And so there he goes, and there was the core. You can see it, yep, just about an hour ago, maybe even 2 hours ago now, making landfall. Let me go and show you the visible satellite imagery. And this is the high res, right? This is every 1 minute. They call this a Meso sector, where they take just a very small sector with the satellite, and every minute they're snapshotting this. And I put this together, the system puts this together for a 1 hour loop. So this is ultra high res type data that we're looking at here. And again, you can see kind of where the parent area of low pressure is. It doesn't really even look like a hurricane, even though it still is as it made landfall. It truly looks more of kind of like a continental area of low pressure, right? Kind of like a deep storm trough type system. You can kind of almost see the comma made out, right? So whenever you're dealing with a hurricane, it's normally symmetrical. You have a little eye wall. If you're dealing with a big area of low pressure, especially one that really wraps up pretty well, you normally have more. It almost looks like a little hook or a little comma, and that's kind of what this system looked like as it came off the Florida coast. So still a hurricane, made landfall as a hurricane. Doesn't really look like one, but again, that will continue lifting off to the north. There's a quick peek at the radar, and that's just the national radar composite there. But you can see just bands of heavy rain. That's going to be the big story now that it's made landfall. Very heavy rain going forward. Here's what the model does. And again, you can see really it's just going to continue lifting off to the north. But the big deal is tonight, even into tomorrow, you can just see waves of rain. And again, it's not just going to be in the Carolinas. There it goes back over through the Appalachians, all the way up through the Northeast. That's going to be a heavy tropical rain maker. And it's just going to continue to be major national weather news, at least over the next several days, before that finally just lifts on up out of the area. And again, so long to Ian, because obviously he's caused what he's doing right now in the Carolinas, but in Florida, again, just catastrophic damage, again, unfortunately for the fine folks down there. Okay, let's go and switch over to the raw data now. And this is what we really like to do on this segment, right? This is what we really want to look at. This is the raw computer model data that, again, we've been going over here and really continuously go over all day long here in the Storm Studio. First, this is the tropical sector. So we just talked about Ian, but again, here at the 500 millibar level, right? We're kind of looking at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, about 18,000 feet for any areas of spin. While we're on the tropics, let me just quickly go through the next 10 days and see if anything sticks out, right? You can see there might be a little weak tropical wave develop off the coast of Africa. and that lifts to the north, right? Doesn't look like anything too interesting, gets caught up in an area of high pressure. That could become something, could even become named, but it doesn't make its way towards any U.S. interest or any interest in the Caribbean or the east coast of the United States, okay? So we'll keep our eye on that, but now since Ian is gone, at least in the near term, it doesn't look like there's anything too interesting out in the tropical Atlantic, okay? So from there, I want to switch back over to the U.S. view. And so similar story, this is the overall setup, right? This is what you call your synoptic pattern. This lets you know kind of where the major weather pieces of the puzzle fit together. Again, at 18,000 feet, we're looking for dips for active weather. We're looking for ridges for, again, calmer weather, maybe typically a little warmer weather as well. And then what's highlighted there are areas of vorticity, areas of spin, which would be an upper level jet stream storm system, right? So as we go over the next 10 days, again, this is the European model. This is the data I prefer, the European model, and this is a global model. And so they go out further, right? The global models go out about 10 days on average. And the resolution is not as good. This is different than high-res data. High-res data typically goes out about 48 to 60 hours, okay? So here we go, just kind of going forward in time. The one thing to really watch here, right, is really one of two things. You're going to see this storm system up here. You're going to see it just spin and spin and spin. And it, like I mentioned, it just stalls there for the next 5 to 7 days. This is Ian. You'll see Ian pull away. And again, he's essentially just going to be a non-player as he pulls away, right? Just rain along the eastern seaboard over the next 36 hours or so. There he goes. There's that other system, and it's just stalled, right? It's not moving, it's not moving. We're out about 5 days. Now, finally, it begins to move, right? And you see how it kind of gets elongated there. And so what this is, as it begins to dive down, this is going to be a little frontal boundary, right? So we have this troughing pattern developing. So we have one frontal boundary, but then we have a secondary push right up here that comes down as well. So this will be two separate frontal boundaries that come down. And again, not that this is a major cold snap at all. In fact, the first one doesn't do much of any air mass change here whatsoever. The secondary one will bring some less hot air, and you see that one riding down right there, some less hot air, and I'll show you the temperatures. But it may also, the second one may offer just a glimmer, maybe a glimmer, a very slight opportunity of some scattered showers as well. So this is just above the surface here. This is the 850 millibar chart showing any change of air mass with those fronts, okay? So same thing. Let me just go and walk you through. There's that storm system. It's stalled. There it goes. It finally starts moving. So there's the first front. You see yellows and greens. There's no real change of air mass, right? But that secondary push, look at the blue and look at the dark blue. That's a push of Canadian air. Not that it's going to make it this far south, but take a look at that. I mean, it's pretty early in the year, but that makes a good push down into parts of the Great Lakes. But that frontal boundary associated with that push of cooler air in the Great Lakes, you can see the yellows getting closer to North Texas. That boundary does make it in, and that will be, I hate to use the term cooler, but it will be some more less hot air. It's definitely going to put the brakes on our temperatures. And again, with that change of air mass front, there may be a very limited opportunity of some showers with that. Let me do this. I want to show you, we're going to look at rain chances coming up next, and we'll go and cut this off. I know we've gone a little bit over time here. But this is what's very unusual about our pattern. This is the jet stream, and the areas of color you're seeing, that is the jet stream wind field, right? And typically this time of year, in the summer, the jet stream goes to the north. It always happens, right? And so in the fall, the jet stream begins to come back down to the south as the cooler air begins to sink. The difference between the warm air and the cooler air essentially creates the jet stream. So typically this time of year, you begin to see the jet stream come back down to the south. But look where the jet stream is, and one of the reasons why that storm system gets cut off and just stalls off to our north for 5 to 7 days, it's because the jet stream, and this isn't just kind of unusual, but this is very unusual for this time of year. It's up in the mid-latitudes of Canada. The mid-latitudes of Canada. The jet stream, that's further north than even typically in the summer that it goes. So we're essentially getting no jet stream flow across the continental United States whatsoever. You can see the very weak little blue line, kind of looks like a little snake moving through Mexico and South Texas. That's the subtropical jet. That's different than the main jet, right? But take a look at this. As I run this through time, there's that system you see spinning. Look how far, I mean, the jet stream almost goes all the way to the North Pole. Okay, then there it is. It finally begins to kind of re-energize and come back down to the south to a certain extent. But that's a pretty unusual pattern. I can tell you that right now. The overall weather pattern, and it really has just the last several months, I mean, the best way to put it, it's just weird. I mean, we're just in a very weird pattern. And I mean, in order for us to get some rain here at some point in time, the jet stream is going to have to get involved at a certain point. And again, when you're talking about the jet going almost up to the North Pole and we're in October, that's, like I said, that's unusual, okay? Okay, so let's come back over to precip. And we'll take a look here. And again, this is the latest run of the euro, and we're just going out 10 days, and we'll see what those fronts. The only real opportunity would be with those fronts, right? So there's front number one, and the way you remember, the way you read a global model, even though you're seeing the green showing up, remember that's not a future radar, right? That's a 6-hour snapshot of could there be any type of precipitation in the air. It's called QPF. And so you're just kind of taking away the signals. It's not even necessarily a location, but we're getting a couple very weak signals that with the first front, there might be an isolated shower around, right? That's really, in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. So here comes the second front. Up in Oklahoma, they're getting rain. And then you can see there might be a push of a complex out of Oklahoma, or maybe something firing out to the west that comes in. I've still got about a 20% opportunity. Again, that's about 9-10 days on down the road. But the signals from that, there's going to be rain and storms in the area. Something up in Oklahoma is going to be going on. Something maybe out in West Texas or the big country. Some of that may try and move in, right? We'll continue to refine that. But right now, there's very weak signals. And again, we're going so far out, 9 or 10 days, that again, all that's really subject to change. So right now, in the near term, the opportunity of rain is just simply put not there. So here are rainfall totals, just kind of rainfall projections, right, over the next 10 days. This would be everything combined, the folks who are lucky enough to see rain. And look up in Oklahoma. I mean, look at that. I mean, some locations up there picking up 1, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain, 1, 2, 3 inches of rain, and then even West Texas. I mean, it's really North Texas, Eastern Texas, that again, we just can't seem to get a drop of anything going here. So again, we'll see what that final front, again, that second front we were talking about within this forecast window, if again, if we're able to get that in possibly with some precip. But otherwise, it's a quiet forecast. The jet is not involved in our weather right now at all. And on the flip side of things, I mean, if you like just sunny, fairly mild weather, and again, this is a look at the dew point chart, right? Just looking at dew points, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. I mean, the overall air mass here stays very dry, right? I mean, you can see the blue showing up. That's not cold air, that's really dry air. So, you know, cool evenings, warm afternoons, sunny. I mean, what you've seen the last couple days on average, that's going to be the forecast. So here's the Euro data from the European. This is the raw numerical data now, right? So highs and lows. The Euro wants to at least bring us back up to around 90 by next Thursday. Then here comes that next front. You can see temperatures are trimmed down into the lower 80s. Okay, so that's the European. I always look at the Euro, but more so I like this blend of models, right? My 12-day truly is based off of this. It takes all the model data, all the numerical model data, it's weighted, it's put together, and it spits this out, and it's pretty good. And also the high-res data for the first 48 hours is factored in here too. And so it's basically what we got, right? So for tomorrow, Saturday, 82, for Sunday, 84, overnight lows there generally in the mid-50s. We begin to rebound the temperatures by the middle parts of next week, 87 to 88 by the following Thursday. And then essentially what I have as well, by that following Friday into the following weekend, highs back into the mid to lower 80s, overnight lows there, generally in the 60s. So it's really just a steady as she goes forecast. We get a little bit warmer by the middle part of next week, but it looks like we stay below 90. By the way, a typical high this time of year would be right around 85 going to 84 now. So we're basically right at or just above normal for where we should be, but we're not way above normal like we were over the summer, so that's good. And again, most days you can see we're really not below normal either. So that's where we are, folks. Like I mentioned, this is just our weather model discussion. Again, some folks will find this interesting. Again, just kind of the background of how we're putting together the forecast of the day. And again, others don't. Others just want the pretty TV graphics and you just want it kind of laid down that way. And of course, we totally get that. But again, like I mentioned, if you are watching this on social media, be sure to give us a like and again, also leave a comment, question, whatever it is. We'll be sure to get back to you. We will be doing one of these tomorrow as well. And again, also remember Patricia Brown. She'll be on air tomorrow with your complete forecast as we roll through the weekend. So otherwise, enjoy your Friday. Friday evening plans look great. Of course, the Texas State Fair kicked off today as well. Heading out to the fair this weekend. Weather looks absolutely beautiful. So again, otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your Friday evening. And again, we'll talk to you tomorrow.